Welcome to the DC Life Uncensored, presented by the Fight Shop New Mexico, International Strategic Partners, and Damage Control. I'm Mika Frankel, your host, and today we're going to start right off with a guest, Fit NHB's, Invicta FC's, Amber the Bully Brown. Thank you for the time. Thank you for joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing well. And first off, last night, King of the Cage, Duke City 2, you were there. As a pro fighter, what is it like for you to go watch a fight with your teammates involved? Are you able to relax? Is it an entertainment thing? Is it a supportive thing? Do you feel like you're fighting? What's that like?
It's a little stressful, you get where your teammates are fighting, but it is still entertaining too, I guess, but it makes you want to get in there more, so it's pretty cool, it's fun, it's chill to go watch. It's pretty entertaining.
And then we'll start off there. Amber was in attendance last night, so she's going to help me break it down. King of Cage, Duke City 2. First off, what were some of your thoughts and takeaways from the event as a whole?
I thought it was a pretty good show. Tom and JJ, they always throw pretty good cards. It's never a boring fight. They have pretty good matchmaking, so I think all the fights were pretty good.
Dakota Monroe submits Patrick Ortiz in the first round with an armbar, one of 3 armbars of the night. Jose Bastillo's got one, and also Joey Trevino got one. Joey Trevino, a guy that he's been an amateur for like 17 fights. He finally told us he's going to move forward and make the jump to the pro division. Also, we had, I believe, one of your teammates. He did get submitted. Bobby Oakley gets submitted by Austin Worms, but it was a fight that was taken on short notice, I believe, correct?
I think so. I don't really know who they were originally fighting, but yeah, I actually thought Bobby would do a lot better than he did. I mean, he did good. I kind of thought that he would kind of walk through that guy, and that was not the story at all, but that was a pretty cool fight. I mean, he still did good, He shouldn't be discouraged. He should just get back in the gym and stay on it and keep training.
Now, the 205 fight, really interesting. We've seen Eduardo Silva grow through kickboxing and boxing, fighting at the Fit NHB Battlegrounds. His first, trip into the MMA realm does not go so well. The much bigger cutting weight to make light heavyweight. Sean Hudler got a wrestling throw, put Silva on his back, was able to cut right to mount, and landed some bombs with the refs jumping in. Silva did a pretty good job of avoiding some damage, but an undersized kid for MMA at that weight class is what we saw in that fight.
Yeah, that's actually what sucks. I missed that one. That's one of the fights that I actually totally missed, and I saw Eduardo walking around, and I was like, what happened with this fight? I thought it got canceled, but I was actually outside when that fight happened, so I missed it, which kind of bummed me out, but because I like watching Eduardo Silva.
Right, I'm like, it's time for him to go work on his ground game. That's what that showed. Mario Pacheco Jr. showed he had a ground game and taking a unanimous decision from Sterling Peak. Chris Brown showed improved striking, but always has that excellent wrestling to rely on in taking a unanimous decision from J.J. Holloway. We go to the pro side of the card. Brenda Gonzalez gets the TKO in the first round of Yumi Matsumoto. And for Brenda, I thought, at least for what we've seen of her here locally in her hometown, this was the first time she really got to display her Muay Thai. We usually just see the boxing, but she finished this one off with the knees and the elbows. So I thought it was a good fight for her to get a win and also showed off some new skills.
Definitely, yeah. Brenda's been in there training, working hard, so it was cool to see her get in there and finish that girl in the first round. That was pretty awesome. I was excited for her.
In the co-main event, Anthony Rosalima and Randy McCarthy did not disappoint. I mean, they went to war. They started banging, and Rosalima lands the right hand that clips, drops, knocks out McCarthy, 129 of the first round. I thought that was going to be one of these guys getting knocked down and hurt early and quick. And it did not disappoint. A fun fight, and that's 2 in a row now for Anthony.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I knew that would be a war, either way someone was going down. And it's cool to see Rosaba grow. I've been watching him for a while, and it's cool to see him grow and flourish as a fighter. He's getting better and better each time, so that's awesome.
Then in the main event, 5 rounds, it goes the distance. Tim Sosa shows off some grappling, some wrestling, getting a plethora of takedowns. Even though the sounds that echoed in the, little area that we were in there, Guillen landed some hard shots, but nothing that ever dropped Sosa. Sosa did a good job of attacking with leg kicks, and I thought going to the decision, it was really clearly in his favor because it was a reoccurring cycle in that fight. There wasn't too many surprises. What happened kept happening. They both would leg kick. They both land on strikes. Sosa would get takedowns. Guillen would fight back to his feet. It goes a split decision. I personally thought I scored it 49-46 for Sosa. I thought that was a good scorecard. And I know I'm asking somebody that's a little bit biased, but how did you see the fight?
I think it was a hard fight for Sosa, but I think Sosa did a really good job. I think he did what he had to do for that guy's style. That guy, he was good at boxing, and he had, I think, the upper hand in the boxing department, but Sosa did what he had to do, and he was getting leg kicked himself, but he also landed some pretty good leg kicks on that guy, a couple good head kicks, and also had all those takedowns, and pretty much controlled the ground the whole time, except that dude could get up, occasionally, a few times, but I think it was a good fight for Sosa. I think that he did just what he had to do for that sort of style of a fighter, and I think it was a good decision.
It was a good decision. I was a little surprised by the split decision. Sosa gets the win. Congratulations to Tim Sosa, the new King of the Cage junior flyweight champion from Fit NHB. And overall now, I believe that is 3 current King of the Cage world champions training out of Fit NHB with Sadiya Parker at middleweight and Nico Montano as the women's junior flyweight world champion.
Yep, that's right.
Now we'll cut over to talking about Amber. Got to get to it. You're coming off of a loss. You went to war at Invicta 20 with Ashley Yoder. Another armbar. Tell us about the fight from your perspective. How'd you feel in that first round?
In the first round, I felt like it sucked because I honestly had an adrenaline dump in that fight. I didn't feel right in that fight. I don't know. A lot of things came into play. So I didn't really feel that good, which kind of sucked because the whole camp in general was good. I felt great. But that just goes to show that I don't want to walk into a fight at weight again. I really didn't have to cut much, so I want to gain a little bit of muscle for the new weight class. I found out where I'm at. But in the first round, I felt like I did good. I felt like I won the round, but she kind of stole it towards the end. So, but I think it was just hard. She was just big. She was just real big and strong. I felt like it was really hard to posture up and land any strikes. I felt like I would have easily got swept or reversed. I felt like I was just on top of Nico or Brenda, one of those big girls that I trained with. So it was like kind of like I couldn't do what I wanted to do, but I did what I had to do to maintain position. But she still ended the round on top. I mean, kind of, we were like in leg lock position-ish. It was weird, but it was a good round, I guess.
Now in that second round, and eventually the submission, what went wrong?
I was watching the fight, and I just had that underhook, and I don't know, there's some things that we need to drill with Tom and with Hannah, my key coach. So I just kind of gave her my arm, really. Like, I had the underhook, and I don't know if I was going to use it to get up or what, but she was on top of me, and she already had my arm trapped. And then I just remember her being on top of me, just throwing those hammer fists, and I'm like, if you don't move, they're going to stop it. So, and I actually turned, I believe, the wrong way. I think I kind of just gave her my arm. If I would have turned the other way, I think it could have been a little bit different, but either way, she had the arm pretty deep, and I don't know. It was good. I felt like I was okay for a while. I could twist and move around and stuff, but then it was just like locked in place, and I couldn't go anywhere, so I had to tap.
So it was slightly a flustered reaction.
Yeah, I guess maybe she was just kind of one step ahead of me, on the ground. So I feel like maybe I should have just tried to keep it standing, even though she's actually the one that got it to the ground, with that trip and stuff. I should have been more aware of that when I had her up against the cage. She shot a double leg on me in the middle of the cage also, so that I just felt slower than I wanted to. My muscles were all fatigued after that first round, and I kind of think also that just all that holding and stuff in the first round was kind of pretty much a grappling match, really. So I think that kind of fatigued me in a way, and I don't know. It was just weird. It was a shitty fight, really, but I mean, I'm kind of just glad. It motivated me. I'm glad that we got the first 115 out of the way, and I know where I'm at and what I need to work on. I know I need to get stronger. So it was very motivating, and it lit a new fire to get in there and work on a lot of things.
So what do you see when Ashley Yoder gets elevated next fight right away, Albany, UFC?
That is, I was like, dang, man, that's freaking crazy that they were, like, watching the fight that closely, obviously, so it's a little, I don't know, in a way, I feel like I'm not ready yet, so it's motivating to see that she is already right there, and I'm, like, kind of right there, too, because they were watching the fight, and so, I mean, if I would have beat her, it would have obviously been interesting. But it's okay. I feel like my time will come when my time, when it's my time. So it obviously isn't. It's not now. So I'll keep training and just stay ready.
And now, where do you also want to get better? Plan is just putting on that size, putting on the healthy, some muscle.
Everywhere, I mean, I'm not, like, the best fighter, so I feel like I'm learning constantly every day. So in the striking department, she was a lot longer than me, but I want to showcase boxing more. Not that I suck at boxing or anything, but it's just, like, weird. I don't know. I don't let my hands go in my fights, and it's starting to, like, get frustrating. So I don't know. I just need to get in there and get experience and just start having fights, let myself go and learning my body and stuff like that. But I feel good. I just need to work everything still. I still want to work a lot of stuff on the ground, put my gi on, and be more consistent with that. I had a couple injuries that, before that fight camp, and like my back and stuff like that. So I've been kind of not really consistent with my gi and stuff like that. So I'm going to get in there and be more consistent with that and just work on everything. I just want to get better at everything and work on it all.
And then tell us about Elevation Boxing and Fitness.
Yeah, that's mine and my husband's boxing gym. We're starting, it's actually December 1st, like this week. So we're starting a boxing gym out here where we live. It's about like 40 east of Albuquerque and Moriarty. For the community or the kids to do out here. There's a couple gyms, but there's something like that just needs to be out here, and it's been a goal of ours. We need something to fall back on when I'm fighting, and so we're doing it. So it's is our boxing gym, so we're getting it going December 1st, Thursday we open.
And what was that like trying to do a fight camp? Also, the gym was being put together and having other things just going on in life while handling this first training camp up to strawweight.
It was a little hectic, but not too much. My real supportive, so he was just kind of doing it. So he's like, when you have to go down to fit and you do what you need to do, and I'll focus over here. So I still helped out and did stuff here and there, but he's been focusing and doing it all when I was like busy with my fight and stuff. But it was pretty crazy, we have our daughter and she has school, and then getting our gym ready, and then fit and having my fight camp it's a lot, but we make it work. We have goals and we're just ready. We have our eyes set to get everything accomplished, and get it going. So.
You fought in March for the title. Then you made this strawweight debut here in November. 2017's around the corner. What's your hopes? How many fights?
I want to get in there as much as possible, even if it's a little lower level fights. I just need more experience, honestly. Like, having 2 losses, I kind of need to just step back and just work on things and just get experience. I am fighting with these girls that have all these fights and 10-fight amateur career, and then have just as many fights as me, if not more. So I honestly, after that last loss, I feel that I need a little more experience. So I want to get in there at least 4, 5, 6 times, hopefully, as much as I can.
Amber Brown, I gotta thank you for joining us, talking about the gym, talking about the fight, helping us talk about this past weekend's King of the Cage. One more time, again, congratulations to Tim Sosa. Amber, thank you for the time. Anybody you need a shout out to?
All my teammates and my coaches, my sponsors, Damage Control Mouthguards, Parent Hotney, Uma Fight Gears, Aardvark Painting, oh my gosh, Intestinal Fortitude, everyone at Fit NHB. I might have forgotten someone. I'm sorry if I did, but either way, thank you everyone who supports me, and thank you for having me on.
There'll be more DC Life Uncensored in just a moment.
We're a dental laboratory that specializes in protective mouth guards for all sports. With the input and collaboration of professional athletes, dentists, and chemical engineers, Damage Control offers protection that is up to 417% greater than the competition, and a great fit that will make you forget you're even wearing a mouth guard. UFC champions, professional bull riding champions, and Mr. Olympian champions. These are athletes that depend on us for the ultimate protection. It's the most comfortable, most protective, and best fitting mouth guard. Breathe better, feel better, play better with the Damage Control mouth guard.
The Fight Shop New Mexico in the Montano Plaza Shopping Center, located off Coors and Montano.
Welcome back to the DC Life Uncensored. Thank you to Amber Brown for helping us in that first segment. Break down King of the Cage, Duke City 2. Also, talk about her recent loss. Talk about that road to improvement. Now we're going to be turning our attentions to the UFC. The UFC was in Australia. UFC Fight Night 101. Find your results at cageminds.com. And we're going to start off, just give you a quick synopsis of the whole card. I mean, Jalen Laus makes his debut with a win over Zinky Yo, a unanimous decision. Laus, let's see if he has some grappling, great striking. Marlon Vera rounding out his game. Jason Knight, great takedowns. En route to a decision. Daniel Hooker showed some good striking off, his hands down, an elusive style, but kept getting caught, taken down. Ben Nguyen in the prelims, kicking those off on FS1. Showed off new striking, beat up Gene Herrera. I thought Herrera with aggression, with want, with heavy hands, would be too much for Nguyen, but Nguyen, a lot of improvements, a lot of lefts, combinations, overwhelming, taking advantage. A great fight from Nguyen, and you see major improvements, looking like a flyweight Dominic Cruz in footwork. Not exactly like it, but the closest to Cruz and Dillashaw that we've seen, with only about 3 guys using that footwork. John Mounier takes a decision over Richard Walsh. Mounier, longer fighter, used that range to his advantage. Better striker, put together the better combinations, timely takedowns. You can see that loss spelling the end of Richard Walsh's run with the UFC, as he's lost 4 out of 5, a 2-fight losing streak, a victory, a 2-fight losing streak. Damian Brown takes a split decision from John Tuck. Tuck was able to get the fight to the ground in the first round, survived the guillotine, beat up, bludgeon Damian Brown. Tuck could not achieve that position in the second and the third round. Third round, I could see it really going either way. I thought the bigger, harder landing shots were from Tuck, but quite possibly the numbers were on Brown's side. Brown gets the victory. Daniel Kelly, you can never count that man out. Chris Camozzi cut him open with an elbow, was jabbing him up, found the right hand a couple times, but Kelly was also answering back. A pretty strictly boxing fight, as Camozzi was scared of the kicks leading to takedowns, but Kelly was still able to trap Camozzi in the second and third round and score a takedown. To the judge that had the fight 30-27 for Kelly, I think he's a little confused. The big elbow, the harder shots in the first round, that was a Camozzi round. And to the judge who had in the second round it being an all Kelly round, to the point of where it was obviously scored 10-8, I didn't see that either. There was not as much inflicted damage. There was a lot of position. There was control. The first judge, 29-28, Daniel Kelly. Congratulations, sir. You watch MMA correctly. That was the right scorecard. We move up to the main card. Daniel Taylor takes a decision from Siho Ham. And again, more confusion by judges, because in a split decision, which very well could have been what this fight was, 2 judges saw it also 30-27. So 30-27 for Taylor, the victor. I did not see that. The first round, Ham was able to cut off the ring, stop the movement. It was defensive movement that Taylor was in. It was rushed movement, and Ham, with her left hand, made a giant welt on the forehead of Taylor. Now, in the second and third rounds, it was definitely more in the favor of Taylor, her movement, her combinations. She was bopping, taking control. Obviously, in the third round, she was taking control. A close second round. So I could go 29-28 Taylor, I can go 29-28 Ham, but 30-27 Taylor is just a little excessive. Daniel Taylor, though, obviously for the former King of the Cage champion, 2 excellent outings since entering the UFC. Tyson Pedro, 4 first-round wins in his career by submission. I think this makes it 4, possibly 5. I may have got ahead or behind of myself. But he takes down Khalil Roundtree and gets the rear naked choke. He ended up, and we're talking about the debuting Tyson Pedro, he got clipped, got dropped, got hurt. Khalil Roundtree is a big, powerful striker that is still very lacking in his ground game and got choked out. A lot of people had big, high hopes for Roundtree and his boxing and his power, and he looks to be a little too much Anthony Johnson right now at this stage and not well-rounded out enough where he's two-dimensional, and maybe this is calling into question the competition that he fought in RFA, normally a very solid proving ground, but Roundtree, I expected more from him. Pedro, submission guy, took advantage of the holes in the game. Great win. We need talent at 205 pounds. Alex Volkanovski and Yukishe Satse. Volkanovski takes the fight to the ground, gets his ground and pound on, survives some submission attempts, and will be moving from lightweight down to featherweight, only 5'5", but Alex Volkanovski, a very stout, powerful fighter. Normally a featherweight, throwing down a lightweight to the ground and pounding a hole in a man's face who was 17-1-2, a dominant debut in a card that not many people were expecting a lot from. Alexander Volkanovski, a name to keep in mind. Amari Akhmedov, Kyle Noak, former training partners, having to go to war, and it was Akhmedov with timely takedowns, with a right hand that was just a missile, with a takedown in the first round that really set the tone for the fight, getting the takedown, getting on top of Noak, hitting him with big heavy ground and pound, cutting open a mark under the left eye with an elbow, other vicious ground and pound. There was the overhand right, and in the second and third round, it was Amari getting the takedown. In the third round, it was Noak afraid to commit, afraid to throw combinations via the threat of the takedown, not being able to get off much offense. Kyle Noak, a 33-fight vet, loses this decision, hasn't had a win in a year, and retires following this fight. Been a fan of this man who trains out here at the Jackson Wink Academy from Australia. Started off his UFC run with 3 wins before a pair of losses. Dropped to welterweight, won 3 out of 4 before now, a 3-fight skid. A fighter who was game to take it wherever. 8 knockouts, 8 submissions, and 16 finishes. Kyle Noak, it's been a pleasure watching you compete. Best of luck in the future endeavors. This takes us up to the co-main event, and at least on the betting cards, the shock of the evening, Andrew Holbrook takes a split decision from Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews was landing some powerful low kicks in the first round. It appeared that one of those low kicks caused a foot injury to himself that would hamper him for the rest of the fight. Matthews was unable, again with combinations, to really get room off or stop Holbrook. There were some straight rights that landed very nice, but for the majority of the second and third round, it was Holbrook being able to drag the fight to the ground and be advantageous with submissions. Even when it was Matthews in the third round who hit a beautiful level change and takedown, it was Holbrook threatening with a Kimura, threatening with a leg lock, and through that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and that submission threat, you saw Matthews unable to effectively surmount any consistent offense to do damage, to score points. Holbrook takes the split decision win. You really could have also in this one saw it going either way, as in the top position technically was Matthews for a great amount of time. And how much do you count a person holding a leg as actually a submission, depending on the judge, depending on what they see. Holbrook, though, with a big upset, and what you've learned about this man in his 3 UFC fights is if you hit the ground with him, he is very crafty to attack a leg, to attack an arm, to become very submission offensive as soon as he is on the ground. Holbrook also wants to stay in your face, not give a striker that time to make it a technical distance kind of fight. This led us up to the main event, where you had the number 8, number 7 guys in the middleweight division. Robert Whittaker, number 8 at the time. Derek Brunson, number 7. And if you asked people from the way Brunson fought this fight, it was a 1-round, 5-minute fight. Not a 5-round, 5-minute fight. The first 20 seconds of the fight, they're feeling out, kind of looking at each other. There's the getting your rhythm, your pace, maybe judging the distance, and then Brunson explodes, comes forward, starts to make it an automatic brawl, and is looking for that overwhelming blitz of punches that has enabled him to win 4 fights in a row by first round knockout of his 5-fight winning streak. Composure, strategic, takedown defense, fighting hands. Robert Whittaker was able to get out of the positions that Brunson wanted him, was able to glide along the cage and shut down a lot of what Brunson was trying to do. Brunson was fighting at 500 miles per hour at a reckless pace, chin out, winging shots. It's good when you complete a combination and you move all the way across the cage, throwing shots, giving your opponent something different to look at. But the overextension of finally cost Brunson. There were some nice uppercuts at distance also landed by Robert Whittaker. A sweet lead left uppercut that you can find on the highlights. But the shot that really turned the tide was a left hook that caught Brunson, and the camera angle you have from Fox Sports 1, you see Brunson's back. This left hook from Whittaker caught Brunson obviously on the right lower part of the right eye socket, because following then after a stiff that left hook, another stiff left jab, the right eye of Brunson is automatically closed. He's trying to gain his distance again, obviously trying to see. You look at a part where the left eye opens wide. I think it says that moment you're trying to open both eyes. He was struggling and unable to open that right eye, and that's when you have, I don't know if it was a left hook or if it was a jab, but you have a left hand come out from Whitaker, followed by the head kick that makes Brunson kind of bend over. The uppercuts get him to the ground. You have the TKO for Robert Whitaker in the first round, 4:07 of round 1. Derek Brunson falls short in a big moment, fought recklessly, out of control. Robert Whitaker kept his composure, kept his defense, kept his head about him, and was able to strategically pick apart his opponent. Great shots, great punches, a victory that moves on. Now Robert Whitaker, the Australian, on a 6-fight win streak. We can move on from the event now. What happens to Robert Whitaker? Well, in this case, you have to see. We believe it looks like UFC 208 is going to be Michael Bisping and Yoel Romero. We will look at the other contenders. You still have a Jacare Souza, a Gegard Mousasi, whose name is popping up. We'll talk about that. We will talk about that. Gegard Mousasi's name is popping up. And then you have Robert Whitaker. These are the three guys on the win streaks. Can't forget, even though he's just coming off of a loss, Chris Weidman's name is still relevant in the division. Whereas Anderson Silva, does he come back? Is Nick Diaz coming back? What kind of fight does he want? And Luke Rockhold says he's going to be ready in March. Mousasi, Jacare, is that a possibility? Rockhold, Jacare, Whitaker. From what we've seen right now, looking at the matchups, because Jacare got robbed of a fight, and I believe that Mousasi came out even cleaner and is a bigger name, with Romero, Bisping all made, I would expect that Jacare Mousasi is the fight to make, and then Whitaker versus Rockhold would be a UFC Fight Night main event or a main card pay-per-view fight for somewhere in March. That's where I would take the middleweight division. And Derek Brunson, he wants to take some time to rebound, rethink, recollect. That's perfect, because I believe Chris Weidman needs some time. Former collegiate wrestlers, head-to-head. I believe that's the trajectory of where we need to go at 185 pounds with this UFC division. Now, as for the rest of the fight card, there's no definites, because a lot of these guys are in their positions that they're in lower down in the division. The only person that you're really looking in this group to consistently make an impact is Danielle Taylor gets a big fight coming up, and so does Ben Tenguin. I think those two are the names that will be most recognized for a big fight going forward. Also, Alexander Volkanovski, again, a name that nobody had heard of. To remember, 13-1 now in his UFC debut. You put him back down at 45. You said maybe even making 35. Put him at 45, and you give him a decent fight, especially considering the way that division is. Leading us to our next topic. Normally at a UFC Fight Night, there's not too much buzz. There's not, a Bellator, that Bellator is making an announcement, which we'll be talking about Bellator later. But that Bellator will be making an announcement. You don't know that they're going to be making an announcement on a UFC Fight Night. And I mean, thank you for sponsorship like Damage Control, so you can have a mouth guard in your mouth when you get smacked in the face by hearing that due to a groin injury suffered by Daniel Cormier, his fight with Anthony Rumble Johnson has been canceled. There's no longer a light heavyweight title fight at UFC 206. The UFC did offer Rumble Johnson to fight Gegard Mousasi, who would be moving up a weight class back to where he was champion in Strikeforce at light heavyweight, but Rumble Johnson declined that opportunity. So that announcement now gets to this big announcement from UFC Fight Night 101. The new main event, which was the co-main event listed of Anthony Pettis and Max Holloway, will now be for the UFC Interim Featherweight Championship. not long, 2 weeks possibly, Conor McGregor is a 2-division champion before being stripped of his title. Because, as myself, you'd be saying, well, how could Holloway and Pettis be fighting for an interim featherweight title when Jose Aldo's already the interim featherweight champion? Oh, no. Aldo is now your full, disputed featherweight champion. A mess that's all caused by Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor could have just defended his title against Jose Aldo. He could have never got the same, I want to be a 2-division at the same time champion. He should have not got that same idea in his head that he had from Cage Warriors. The UFC, unlike Cage Warriors, where he won both titles, never defended them, should have made McGregor defend his title. Now we have an interim featherweight title simply because even though he's fought 3 times in the 11 months since he's been champion, McGregor has not fought at 145 pounds, has not defended his title. Jose Aldo, after a loss, recollected himself at UFC 200, defeated the number 1 contender, Frank Yeager, who was clearing away at that point the number 1 contender. Aldo has that dominance. You make their fight a 5-rounder, a interim featherweight title fight, and obviously there's no reason to say Aldo should defend against Holloway. No. I was the longtime champion. I've reclaimed the number 1 contender spot. Aldo truly did deserve this fight with McGregor. McGregor, because also announcing that he's taking the time off for his child's birth in May, and that he's going to take the 6 months while the child is being formed inside of the mother to sit back and relax, and then a couple months to hang out with the child. He has created these abilities for there to be interim champions created, for this problem to persist, to allow himself to become stripped of the title because he never defended it. It was an easy fix for McGregor. Defend the title against Aldo. I mean, all main events are 5 rounds. I believe this is a statement here with an interim title fight that the UFC is unwilling to do a pay-per-view where there is not a title on the line. That looks like that is the trajectory that their business model is taking. A pay-per-view must have a title fight. For my money, I believe a pay-per-view should have 2 title fights, as we've seen Demetrius Johnson. We'll talk about him later. Coming up this weekend, we saw Dillashaw versus Cruz. We've seen single title fights as free cards or even Fight Pass cards. I believe full-blown pay-per-views, 2 to 3. So that is what this is doing. DC's injury caused the need for a title fight. Conor McGregor's situation caused the ability to, in turn, now change this fight to save the card that has lost Tim Kennedy, Rashad Evans one more time, to save UFC 206. There is a legion of McGregor fans who are very upset that their savior has been stripped of one of his titles that he was unwilling to defend, and who knows if we'll ever see him return to the weight class. After you're done with the baby, go back, come back to fighting, go back to the gym, come back to fighting, and we'll see what lies ahead of you. At that point, McGregor will still have a 155-pound title to defend, where there should be a Khabib Nurmagomedov and a Tony Ferguson awaiting, and oh, the cunningness, they may fight for an interim title. So McGregor, by sidelining himself, is effectively weeding out challengers. And in the same right, now you're going to weed out Pettis Holloway. The winner of that will fight Aldo. And in turn, you've again avoided several credible threats as your Conor McGregor. You've avoided several credible threats. Edgar, possibly Pettis, possibly Holloway, or even possibly that rematch with Aldo, leading to one guy having went through many guys to get this opportunity to face you. This is as the McGregor turns and him dictating it again to where he should be having to fight a Ferguson and a Nurmagomedov, and with a baby being born in May, I believe there's more than enough time that he could have fought again in March or April, then been with the child from May through the summer into the fall, and still have had his quality family time. But Conor McGregor also, with this power play on money, is creating a situation. It's also creating a situation money all over in the UFC, like I believe they're losing Ryan Bader, and not to mention rumors that Now Lorenz Larkin is in heavy talks with Bellator. He came up with Strikeforce. That could be a good move for him. He looks at a guy like CM Punk making $500,000 who had no business being in the cage and sees his money as not good enough. That's a surprising thing because when I looked at the Bellator, at least what they had to submit to the Athletic Commission, what was put out in the public for Bellator 165, Benson Henderson and Michael Chandler each made $50,000 flat for that fight. In a comparison where at UFC 202, his final contracted fight, Lorenz Larkin made $78,000, $39,000 to show and $39,000 to win. So it's going to be interesting to see what the numbers come out, or if someone ever tells me about this under the table or back pay that Bellator gives their fighters. Because if you're telling me that there's $39 to show and $39 to win, a $79,000 bonus in total, and you're somewhere on the card. That wasn't even a main card fight. I believe that Lorenz Larkin Neil Magny was the Fight Pass prelim featured fight. You're getting that as that fight, and a Benson Henderson Michael Chandler on the books is making $50,000, and they're the top guys in the toughest division in Bellator. I think you're doing all right if you're Lorenz Larkin, but fill me in if you have that number. So there's As the Connor Turns, and that is to avoid the attention of the masses from the fact that Bellator is catching up as the UFC is failing to match them at the free agent table with guys that appears like Ryan Bader and Lorenz Larkin possibly heading back to fighting on Spike TV. Well, there's been a whole lot of talk right there with the UFC, even a little Bellator sprinkled in, and we return. We're going to talk some Legacy FC and also talk to a old friend of ours. An interview with Josh Lanier is next. The DC Life Uncensored will be right back. ISP, that's International Strategic Partners. When you think protection in New Mexico, you should think ISP, not your everyday security company, offering background checks, self-defense courses, handgun, firearm licensing, and a plethora of security patrol and investigation options. Call us at 505-255-6063. That's 505-255-6063. 6063 or online at callisp.com.
The Fight Shop New Mexico in the Montano Plaza Shopping Center, located off Coors and Montano.
Welcome back to the DC Life Uncensored, and right now we're going to welcome in Big Country, Josh Lanier, going to be part of Legacy FC 63. How you doing, sir?
Hey, what's up, man? I'm doing good. How's everything in New Mexico?
It's great. Now that you're out there in Texas and been a busy man, I've heard, with Team Takedowns. Tell us what's going on out there.
We went through some, started off being a training partner for Jared Roshaw, during his UFC stint, and went through some changes with the Team Takedown structure, and I actually started my own Team Takedown affiliate out of a place called The Gym in Arlington, Texas.
Wow, so you guys have your own little corner of the gym that you're working in then?
Yeah, we rent out, space, and it's a great facility, big facility, and they were kind enough to let us come in and bring in that Team Takedown, style, and have our own little spot there.
Now, I know already you stole two of my favorite people and took them out there, Matt Goudelet and Marquis Smith, but who else is part of the team out there?
Right now it's out here, it's, just Jared Roshaw, and then we got a couple young bucks, nobody knows yet, but it's just a small thing right now. We're trying to build up, mainly when everything went through, it was me and Jared here, and now, it's, like I said, we got Matt and Marquise, and, we got a couple of new guys coming up nobody really knows anything about, but they will soon enough.
So all this going on, the coaching, the getting your own affiliate going, being a sparring partner for a really high-level heavyweight, and now you've got the itch to jump back into competition. Did things just fall into place right? Why are you returning to the cage next Friday?
Man, I think I'm doing this for me. I took all that time just being a training partner, with Jared, and doing my thing, and just took some time away from stepping in the cage, and just focus more on changing some things in the game that I've let slip by. I spent all those years coaching, so for like 2 years I was just being coached, and being a training partner. So that was phenomenal. Just to step back from coaching altogether.
And then what have you been eating since you've moved out to Texas? Because there was a time we were talking about you teetering light heavyweight, maybe going back down to middleweight. And this one's that super heavyweight. You look like the Incredible Hulk version of the Josh Lanier I used to know.
Man, it's Texas barbecue out here, brother. It's it'll put it on you quick.
So how are you feeling, putting on all this size, putting on all this muscle? How big are you right now?
Right now I'm about 270. It's hard keeping the weight on, once we started this training camp. But we started a training camp in the high 280s.
And that's what you've been walking around at lately?
Yeah, I feel good. We're doing a lot of strength training and stuff like that. Jared would have to fight some big heavyweights, so we want to make sure that we provided the weight, and the look that he needed.
So what did you do to do that? What kind of lifting and exercise program were you on to put on the size in a healthy manner?
We just did a lot of, powerlifting, not as much cardio, not as much HIIT training as we used to do to stay light, heavyweight, middleweight. But, yeah, just strongman exercise and stuff like that. And then, continuously eating, 6-7 times a day, 6-7 meals a day.
Now, have you been having time with helping Jared, besides emulating styles, you've still been growing your own game?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think coming out here and working with Mark Lehman and those guys, man, it really changed my style, and I'm looking forward to seeing, the new Josh, man. I just want to try it, and see what happens. I'm not chasing no titles. I'm not trying to, make another career out of it. I just want to see what happens, with the new tools I got.
And how did this opportunity pop up with Legacy for this fight?
I was supposed to fight a month ago, I think, on the XKO. It's a show here in Texas, and I ended up getting it was my cornea scratched where the doctor wouldn't clear me. So I was kind of disappointed, and probably about a week or so later, this opportunity came up from Colin out in Legacy, and they needed another televised fight, and the guy couldn't make heavyweight, so I was like, okay, let's do it super heavy.
So Jesse Hernandez, he's been all first-round finishes from what you see on his record. What are your expectations for him to come out with?
Oh, man, he's gonna try to take me down. He'll come out and pressure and try to push me against the fence and use that weight against me.
And how big of a boy is he?
6'2", 310 is what they told me last I heard.
Even when you move up to super heavyweight, you're not getting these, correct size matchups for you, are you?
I know, man. It just seems like I'm always the guy willing to fight the bigger guy, so it's crazy.
So what kind of camp then? This was a couple weeks ago, so how much of a camp have you been specifically able to put towards thinking about Jesse?
It's been a short camp. It's been about 3 weeks, and really all we've done is try to get the cardio up a little bit. That's where the fight's going to happen, is the cardio. He's not going to show me anything I've never seen before. So, it is what it is. It's the same dance, just a different song.
And now you have had that experience again with Jared. So we know that you got a lot of wrestling while you were in here with Lovato's Total Fitness, but what has that been like, having to go against Jared Roshaw day after day after day?
Man, anytime you step on the mat with a 3-time All-American, you can count on you're getting taken down pretty much whenever he wants. But it's been a great look for me, to be worked, and I went from being one of the higher guys in the gym to coming in and getting smashed. So it's been a long time since that's happened. So I really enjoyed that.
I was about to say that. I'm like, you sounded kind of happy to say, I was getting beat up. It sounded like a very enjoyable thing for you.
Man, to grow, you need that. You need, adversity to grow in this game. And if you're not getting beat up, if you're not getting pushed to the limits, you're at the wrong place. And that's just, the truth of the sport. And I've known this for a long time, and I just got complacent where I was at, tried to rely on my skills and abilities, but never, I think, hitting that growth that I needed. And I think with this, the past 2 years, couple years now, it's a new growth that I've hit, a new stride. So it's been good for me.
A lot of people have heard, it's well documented, what happened as Team Takedown broke apart. But what was it like before? What was it like for your experience when you first got there?
It's a phenomenal team. It's a professional team. It's business, man. I mean, you walk in, you get your schedule sent to you on Sundays, and these what times you had to be here, and you were fined if you didn't show up. And they weren't I don't feel like it today. It's a business. It's treated like a business.
So, completely foreign approach. And did you think it was leading in a successful manner that approach will work out for mixed martial arts?
Yeah, I think, I loved it. I think, once you hold fighters accountable and, like I said, make it a business, then, realize that it's not for fun. If you want to make a living out of this, man, you're going to have to treat it just like a job. Clock in, clock out. Go in there and do your job.
And as somebody that's been fighting, I think, way longer than his record even documents and stuff, what is your thoughts now on seeing the progressions of MMA to, this big stage and what we're seeing happen at the upper echelons? What are your thoughts on how you've seen this progress in the last 2 decades?
Man, I think it's amazing. I love to sit back and just watch it now. I've become more of a spectator. I love to sit back and watch the growth of it. Man, when I started, we were in dirty rings in a bar. It's, you fought whoever showed up. They matched you when you showed up. And now to look at it now, I mean, it's become a nationwide sport. It's a beautiful thing to see.
Did you, back in those days, ever think it could get to this magnitude? Or back in those days, you were just thinking about that fight, that paycheck?
Man, back then it was for, excuse my language, for shits and giggles. I mean, you make $100 on a beer and go in there and fight some guy, that's kind of close to your weight, maybe, hopefully.
Maybe, hopefully. Oh, and if you need a curse, we're uncensored. It's fine.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, I never thought it would be as big as it was. We just did it, like I said, man, for shits and giggles.
And then going from that to where the UFC was at, do you watch Bellator?
Oh yeah.
So what do you think of that progression to where, they're bringing in the big stage and they got the video promos and it looks like something, it's another progression. What are your thoughts on seeing that, just the entertainment level now taken up also?
Man, I think it's great. I think you need that stuff to bring in, general audience. I mean, you're always going to have that fan base, but to bring in a general audience, you're going to have something that appeals to them, make it entertaining. People want to be entertained. So, and what they do is entertaining. So it'll bring new eyes to MMA, and I think it's a good thing.
Someone that's fought everywhere, fought for such a long time. You've seen the rules evolve and change, and I know come January we do have several rules changes coming. But what do you think still needs to be changed? What would be something that if you had the opportunity, you would change?
Man, I don't really worry too much about it or think too much about it. I mean, it is what it is. When I started, I think we could headbutt back then, but it's a fight. It's going to be a fight, and whatever happens. I mean, as long as the fighter's safety is paramount, I don't think the changes are going to make that much of a difference. I think soccer kicks are coming illegal now, or legal, or something like that now.
I think there's something with the scoring criteria, and that to be a downed opponent, you're gonna have 3 points. You can't just be on like one knee. You either have to have like 2 soles of your feet, or 2 knees, or like 2 palms of your hands. You have to have 3 points of contact to be considered a downed opponent. So they are changing that, but not fully. It's not completely going pride. It's going a little different, and I think there's going to be slightly different scoring criteria as to what like aggression means and stuff like that. Stuff that will probably all still be like, how did that guy win the fight? And we'll still be complaining about decisions. You know how it goes.
Oh yeah, man, that's going to be hard. Everybody has their opinion of who wins the fight, man. It's 3 guys judging it, so you never know how they're going to see it. I don't think there is an absolute way that everybody's going to see it the same.
That's never going to happen. And then angles, because I'll be watching fights too, and you can hear commentators as they're watching it call out a strike that lands, and there's a back to you, and you don't see it. So still there's an imperfection to everything. But on another topic with you, we know that when you were out here, you had your little land sharks. You love the gi. Have you been able to get into that lately? Get into your gi?
Man, since I came out, I probably wore the gi 4 times, 5 times. It's and we didn't have a kids program. We didn't have that stuff. It was just like I said, a business. You go in there and you train for the fights, and a lot of things they did. I feel like changed my style a lot. I've adapted a lot to what we've been doing. Like I said, I miss the kids. I miss training the kids and stuff. But for the past couple of years, it's been good just to step back and be, trained instead of worrying about having to coach guys.
Well, I was more just wondering, you as a martial artist, if you're having, jiu-jitsu withdrawal by now.
I do, man. I make it down to Houston. There's a place called Elite MMA, and one of the biggest jiu-jitsu schools. And I'll go down there and try to get some rolling in with them. But, we do a lot of jiu-jitsu, but it's adapted to MMA. You know what I mean?
Definitely. That's why I bring up the gi. I was wondering if you were missing it, because all we were talking about and what you said you're spending a lot of time on is that MMA. So we know where the passion, though, lies. You love your MMA, but we know how you feel about the jiu-jitsu.
I miss it, but I found it like it's been pretty exciting, having to adjust, to MMA and against these high level wrestlers, and it's like you see it evolving, and I think that's always cool to see.
And now, as we look at legacy, is this one just to see how you feel, keeping it open ended? Do you even have a thought going past this, or it's just one fight you sign for? We'll see what happens.
Man, I don't even have a thought really. Truthfully, the main reason I'm doing this is last July I had a heart failure, and I went into the hospital, and then ended up having a blood clot in my lung. I was in the hospital for about 3 weeks. My heart beating about 50 to 60%. The doctor told me I would never do jiu-jitsu. I would never fight. He's like, you're going to be brisk walking. That's going to be your new hobby. I was in bad shape, intensive care for about 3 weeks. And, I didn't know how things were going to work out, man. And being told, you can't do the things that you love, it sucks. And we didn't know what was going to happen, with my health. We didn't know, man, I didn't know if I was coming out the hospital, to be honest. And so I just made it up in my mind, that the doctor's not going to tell me what to do. So, I was able to recover, 3 months after getting out of the hospital. I did a grappling tournament with no training. I was still on blood thinner medication. The doctor told me I was crazy, but I was like, I would do what I want to do. And now, here we are, just over a year. My heart's beating good. I feel fine, And like I said, ain't nobody gonna tell me what I can't do. So.
Well, it brings a whole new meaning to I'm super glad to be talking to you. But
it's a good thing to be talking to you too, buddy.
So, what kind of things post that did you have to change up to continue to have a healthy heart?
Man, they put me on just some like blood pressure meds and stuff like that, but I don't take the blood thinners. I don't, you can't get cut or you can't get hurt with those things, and I don't know what happened. They still can't explain it. I had to cut out like energy drinks and caffeine, stuff like that, but it is what it is, man. I don't know why it happened. We can't really, doctor couldn't explain it, but
I'm like, yeah, damn, because considering all the heavyweights I know, you're pretty damn in shape.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, we were training. I just finished a training session that night. I think Jared was getting ready for Struve, and or maybe Johnson, I can't remember. But the next day, man, I just felt like a burning sensation in my chest, and next thing I know, it was heart failure.
What was this process? How long did you have to just sit and do nothing? How long was it before you were able to, that you felt and you started training?
Well, the doctor wouldn't clear me for the longest time, and Coach Mark Lehman, he knew I wanted to roll, he knew I wanted to train, and but he didn't want to risk that chance, and the team takedown owner Ted, he just didn't want me to, go out there and train and get hurt, so I actually went to practice a lot and just watched. It killed me. It aggravated me, I think that's when he was fighting Struve, and I wanted to be in there, and I was perfect, training partner for the Struve fight. Just having to sit and watch, it really irritated me. But once that was done, the doctor cleared me. I guess it was probably, I think it was January. It was like after Christmas. He finally let me clear me 100% to go. So started getting back into it, and we started strength training. I dropped a lot of weight, so that's why I started strength training, trying to get some size on. This is where we're at now.
And was it immediately after he said you couldn't do it that you said, I have one more in me?
I don't know if it was immediately. It was like a kick in the throat, when he told me I wouldn't even go to a jiu-jitsu tournament. And, I said, you'll see. There's one in 3 months. You'll see. And I don't know, man. It's just I took a little step back, and I took a little time away. And I was like, hey, man, I'm ready to do this again. I wanted to focus on getting my Team Takedown affiliate going. So, we focus a lot of energy on that. And, Marquise coming out. Marquise has got a lot of potential. And, I think given the right opportunity, he can be very successful. So, me and Coach Matt have been trying to give him that opportunity.
And now, seeing that training that you were doing at Team Takedown, now going over to your affiliate, how has that changed what you do?
I got to put my own little style to it. I've always, have my own particular way I like to do things, but I've taken a lot of things, from them, incorporated it. But I think once we get going, man, we're gonna see a good squad out here, and I'm looking forward to it.
Legacy, a big stage. I mean, at some points right now, Josh is leaving me kind of speechless. I didn't expect for all these bombs to just be dropped right here. Like, wow, dude. Didn't know everything was so serious. Like, really glad to be talking to you. We know there's big things coming. And I guess, easy to say, you are enjoying the Texas lifestyle?
Man, I love it. It suits big country just fine.
Big country out there in the open country now, right?
That's right, man. It's a good time out here. It's hard starting off new. I worked hard to build that big country name up in New Mexico, and then when you come out here, you just kind of start all over. But we'll get it done.
Now, how has that been? I'm sure you've already working with the team takedown and everything. You've had a little bit of a reach, but not as much as you had before.
Yeah, not as much, but I think, when people see the guys we put out and, the type of training that we do, I think it'll speak for itself. And hopefully December 2nd, we'll make a good statement when I beat up Jesse Hernandez.
Live on Access TV, Legacy 63. The last thing is, last but not least, Josh, who you got to shout out to? Who you got to thank?
Man, just thank everybody, that stood beside me and behind me. And, I always got to thank my wife, Nicole. She stood beside me through the whole thing. And, even when she, when I said I want to do this again, and, it breaks her heart to hear, her husband, just had a heart attack. He wants to get out there and fight again. It kills her. But, she stands behind me, and, you got to appreciate that. And, just thank everybody, man. I'm thankful to be in the sport. Man, I'm thankful to be here, really. So I'm just happy, and I appreciate everybody. Always support me. I appreciate you. All reaching out to me, and still staying in touch all the way from New Mexico, and it's just good, man. I appreciate all you guys.
Appreciate you. And then the last thing is for the other fans and stuff. Where can they keep up with you and Team Takedown on the social media?
Man, I still got the Josh Lanier Big Country Facebook page. I don't update it a whole lot. Then follow me on Instagram, Josh Big Country Lanier on Instagram. But we're kind of on the down low right now. We're not really putting it out there a whole lot on social media, but like I said, we're trying to build a squad, and then all of a sudden, everybody's going to take notice.
Look forward to seeing it. I know there's a whole lot of talent. I've been watching some of those guys in the gym for a while, and I can't wait to see what they do, especially Marquise as he continues now this pro run. Josh, again, thank you for the time, and best of luck next Friday at Legacy.
All right, thanks so much, man. I appreciate you reaching out, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
There'll be more DC Life Uncensored after a quick break.
The Fight Shop New Mexico in the Montano Plaza Shopping Center, located off Coors and Montano.
We're a dental laboratory that specializes in protective mouth guards for all sports. With the input and collaboration of professional athletes, dentists, and chemical engineers, Damage Control offers protection that is up to 417% greater than the competition, and a great fit that will make you forget you're even wearing a mouth guard. UFC champions, professional bull riding champions, and Mr. Olympian champions. These are athletes that depend on us for the ultimate protection. It's the most comfortable, most protective, and best fitting mouth guard. Breathe better, feel better, play better with the Damage Control mouth guard.
You're back with the DC Life Uncensored. One more time, thank you to Big Country Josh Lanier, and that's where we're going to start off our previews with at Legacy 63, taking place at the Joint at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Main card, as always, televised on Access TV. I mean, it's almost over. No more RFA. No more Legacy FC. We're going to have Legacy Fighting Alliance in 2017. We're closing out Legacy here, Legacy 63, Aaron Cobb, and the return to the cage of Gerald Harris. You got Trey Houston, Belial Williams. If you're a fan of Legacy, you've seen Belial in a big fight right there. Going to be at welterweight. Belial, always action-packed. At flyweight, interestingly enough, Levi Mouse, who always comes out to be exciting, a hard-nosed young man, taking on Jimmy Flick. Flick, we've seen him down here locally at King of the Cage. He is a wrestler. He is a grinder. We talked to Josh Lanier, who's going to be in that super heavyweight fight. Can he get his jiu-jitsu on? Ariel Beck going to be taking on Catherine Catrone in a women's fight. I'm expecting that one to be a brawl with several haymakers involved. Now, also Friday night, let's transition over to UFC Fight Pass. I mean, Jack May defending the heavyweight title for Titan FC at Titan FC 42, which is going to be in Coral Gables, Florida. You got Jack May defending the heavyweight title against Volkan Ozdemir, who's 12-1. That's going to be a hard fight for May. Can his Muay Thai to his judo work in his favor. Frank Hart Sharapova going to be challenging Andrew Whitney for the bantamweight title, or for the featherweight title, excuse me. And Shorty Jose Torres, 3-0, undefeated, going to be challenging Pedro Nobre for the bantamweight title. You have Diego Lima, Jason Jackson. Lima, he puts together his strikes to get into the clinch, to take you down, he uses jiu-jitsu. Jason Jackson is going to want to keep this one standing and make it a slugfest. Also on the card, you have a veteran like JZ Cavalcante. Haider Hassan, tough runner-up, going to be returning. Look for him with his big knockout power. Kurt Holaba, a former featherweight champion, is going to look for his wrestling to counter the striking of Yosandis Cordero. You also have returning former champion, a real grinder, Desmond Green, taking on Martin Brown. Desmond Green, former Bellator veteran, held that Titan title, lost it, has went off 2-fight win streak outside Titan, came back, got a recent win. An exciting card to clear out the year for Titan. That's on UFC Fight Pass. And then you also have on Spike TV, Spike Sports, the beginning of the doubleheader weekend at the WinStar World Casino and Resort in Thackerville, Oklahoma, kicking off with Bellator 166, and the bantamweight title is on the line. Joe Warren, Eduardo Dantes. The vicious circle continues. Last time these two met, it was Warren being able to impose his wrestling and grind out Dantes, but after that, it was Warren again getting submitted by Marcus Galval, and Dantes outstrikes Galval. Can someone break this circle? Can Dantes defend the Warren takedowns and land the strikes needed to get the decision victory? Now, in another key fight that has seen some changes, the co-main event was expected to see Emmanuel Sanchez, the exciting striker out of the Rufus camp, against the young undefeated prospect AJ McKee. Slight change now, 7-2, Ray Wood, instead of taking on Tristan Thompson, will be moving up to that co-main event from the prelims to take on McKee. Sanchez out. I gotta say that this one, even then, gives more of a favoriteness to McKee. On the betting side, definitely see him getting the victory here, but don't underestimate the striking ability of Ray Wood. That's how he has to get the victory if he can get it. Marcos Galval is going to look to get back in the win column with his jiu-jitsu and his brawling striking style against another brawling striker who likes to wrestle, LC Davis. Go to cagedminds.com. There's an interview up with Ben Ryder, who we're gonna see taking on Chris Honeycutt. Both guys are wrestlers who like to become brawlers. Ryder, more experience, had a great time training and living in Peru for some time, where they really kept him active. He has 19 fights for his pro career, where Honeycutt only has 9. That is a big one on the main card. That is on Friday night. Now Saturday, we'll kick off Saturday right back talking about Spike Sports with Bellator 167, same place, probably going to be the same time. This card, got to start on the prelims real quick. A big shout out. We've had the guest before, Jonathan Gary, going to be in action. He trained for this camp out here at the Jackson Wink team, taking on Aaron Robertson. One to look for right there on the prelims. Now on the main card, you're going to see Justin Lawrence, the former RFA featherweight champion, taking on John Teixeira, 20-1. Teixeira was looking for a bigger named opponent, but he has a very dangerous striker who's been improving by leaps and bounds as he's been getting comfortable inside of that Bellator cage. Talking about a striker, Chidi Njokuani returns. He's going to be taking on American Kickboxing Academy's Andre Fio. Very powerful, very raw. If he can get you with the ground and pound, or if he can cut off the angles, Njokuani could get hurt, but Njokuani, a dangerous striker in his own right. The co-main event, it's ladies' night. Alimale McFarland taking on Emily Dessette. McFarland undefeated. Will she be able to get this fight where she wants to on the ground? Main event, it's a rematch Big question, can Joe Taiminglo make weight? If he's able to make weight for this one, and if he can pull off the upset again and beat Darian Caldwell, he puts himself right there as the number one contender. It's a big weekend for the bantamweights with Galvao in action against LC Davis, with the title fight with Warren and Dantes, and right here with Caldwell Taiminglo, you have the top 6 bantamweights for Bellator all in action in the same arena within 2 days. A doubleheader. Spike TV is going to be a very exciting place to be Friday and Saturday night. But you can't also forget that there is the UFC on Saturday night, as a tough champion will be crowned after the recording of this. Some leakings on the internet have TV guides saying that the Tough 24 finale will be Demetrius Johnson versus former Titan FC flyweight champion Timothy Elliott, who is actually in the finale episode of the show going to take on Masahiro from Pancrase, who is one of the top 3 lighter weight fighters in that country. But rumors say that Elliott is the one we're going to see taking on Demetrius Johnson. I still don't know if he has what it takes to compete with the champ. He is an awkward striker, a big flyweight, a very tenacious grappler. Upsets happen all the time, but a big showcase on FS1 for the top pound-for-pound fighter on the planet. Watch a surgeon go to work with Demetrius Johnson. The co-main event, the coaches get to go to war. It is up to Joseph Benavidez to keep this one striking. He has more tools to work with and to use if he's able to keep this fight standing. Henry Cejudo, that Olympic caliber wrestling, will Benavidez force him to use it? We haven't seen much of that. We've seen a very boxing stylistic style coming out of Cejudo. We know that Benavidez has spent a lot of time working his striking with his former mates and now current mates again with Dwayne Ludwig in Colorado. A very interesting stylistic matchup there. One of these guys has to make a wow moment, though, as they're both top 5 flyweights who haven't lost but have not got over that hump to really be credible threats again for DJ. And especially Benavidez, 0-2 against DJ. This is a big hole for Cejudo. A huge, monumental first-round crushing win. And you could earn yourself another title opportunity if you show that much of a drastic improvement in your game. The main card's also going to see Jake Ellenberger versus Jorge Masvidal. Even though this is the Tough 24 finale, this really is going to feel more just like a fight night, because as far as tough contenders on the card, Brendan Moreno's taking on Ryan Benoit in a very interesting flyweight fight. Benoit, we know about takedown defense, powerful striking. Can he get that striking off? Also, having taken part in this season's Ultimate Fighter. Matt Schnell's going to be moving up from flyweight to bantamweight on short notice to take on Rob Font of Sitio Tung, a very nice striker. The FS1 prelim main event, you have Gray Maynard and Ryan Hall, the former Tough winner. I'm jumping all over this card. Don't forget, also, as I skipped over them on the main card, how could I do it? The Hulk, maybe he'll paint his whole body green again. Ian Kuntelaba taking on Jared Cannonier. Cannonier moving down to 205. Spinning attacks. Karate stylist. Hard hitting. Knockout. Fun fight right there. Kuntelaba, a lot of aggression. The return of Sarah McMahon taking on Alexis Davis. A very interesting women's fight there. Davis, can she keep standing? How much does McMahon show off her striking before taking it to the ground? Kaylin Curran, Jamie Moyle. Grappler versus brawler. Curran needs the victory after getting choked out by Felice Herring. Moyle, though, very good, tenacious jiu-jitsu, could do that again. At light heavyweight, Josh Stansberry, who is a tough season 23 veteran, taking on, moving up from middleweight, former RFA champion. And also you can catch an interview with this man at Caged Minds MMA show. Probably easier to find it on there, or go to the interview section of our website, cagedminds.com. We talked with Devin Clark, who's going to be in this fight, trained at Jackson Wink for this one. And that is your opener up on FS1 for the prelims. Your featured fight on the UFC Fight Pass prelims is Elvis Mutapshitz versus Anthony Lionheart Smith. We're talking former MFC champion versus a Strikeforce vet. Smith has fought everywhere. 2 strikers. Mutapshitz does really not look comfortable inside the octagon. In MFC, he was throwing leg kicks, devastating strikes, really looked comfortable on top of his game. Didn't look as sharp in WSOF, but managed to use that platform to catapult himself in the UFC. Can he look good? Can he look comfortable? Brennan O'Reilly versus Don Yun Kim. Not the stun gun, but Maestro opening up the card. The Australian is a grinder. Maestro has a higher striking rate output, is a more aggressive, bigger fighter. For a fight night card, you can find some gems inside of this fight card. I think it could be a very exciting night. You got to tune in Wednesday to find out, are the rumors true? Does Tim Elliott advance? Does he take on DJ? Does he get that opportunity to dethrone Mighty Mouse? It's only appropriate. There were 2 of them. Tim Elliott, Demasio Page, UFC vets in the competition. Can a UFC vet rise back among the developmental, among the regional, among the national secondary promotions, rise to that pinnacle, get back in line for a title shot, get that contract with the UFC? This is a big opportunity, and it's a free opportunity, again, as I said, to watch the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. No, it's not Conor McGregor. It's a guy that's more flawless in every area of the game. We're talking about Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. Something interesting. Now, also around here at the DC Life Uncensored, we've been very busy this week with 2 local events coming up. This weekend, this Saturday, December 3rd, outside of all these great mainstream MMA events this weekend, you're also going to have the Jackson's MMA Series 20 up at the Buffalo Thunder Resort and Casino. Sonny Yon, 2-0 and 1-0 knockout artist. Check from his amateur career, Josh Moreno in that main event. Not to mention, just down the road from that, just before you get to Buffalo Thunder, you pass by the Camel Rock Casino, where I will be as Legacy Boxing Promotions presents New Mexico Top Contenders. A night of boxing, 9 fights on that card, topped by 9-0 undefeated Augustine Benegas taking on Tony the Warrior Valdez, the hometown fighter from Espanola. Jason Sanchez, Joaquin Zamora returning after 36 months. That card stacked. Jackson's MMA Series, a great pro and amateur card. The return to the cage after 22 months away. The itch got to him. Angelo Sanchez returning, the former King of the Cage champion. Brandon Jones making his professional debut against Cody Yon. And an amateur card stacked like the amateur debut of Tegan Ring, and not to mention Chris Rojas versus Mark Matthew McGill. A action-packed weekend from the local to the developmental to the regional to the main to the national scene. MMA, boxing, combat sports, a lot of stuff going on. Again, keep up with all of it at cagedminds.com. Thank you to the Fight Shop New Mexico, Damage Control, International Strategic Partners. This has been the DC Life Uncensored.